Student. Myself Amit Kumar Gautam and I am from the Vijayawada Gosala campus. Today I will discuss the topic atomic structure. Look, first theory is given by the scientist Daltons about the atomic structure. He said that atom is the ultimate particle of any substance which cannot be divided further into the smaller particles. But after some time, other scientists found that this was not the correct theory because we can divide the atom in the further several smaller particles. And first particle discovered by the electron. Okay, many scientists like the Michael Faraday, they wanted to know the conductivity of the gas. In order to check the conductivity of the gas, they performed the cathode ray tube experiment. What they did, they have a discharge tube made by the glass, applied the cathode anode, and we have the partial vacuum here, and we apply the very high potential difference, for example 20,000 volt. Under such condition, they found that some invisible rays are coming from the cathode and they are moving toward the anode, and when they are striking on the anode, they always give some lightning effect there. Because these rays are coming from the cathode, they are given the name as the cathode rays. Some properties of the cathode rays, they have the straight line motion, they always travel in a straight line, they have the energy, they have the mass. MCEP, in the magnetic field show the circular motion, and in the electrical field show the parabolic motion, and whenever the electrical field is applied, they always move toward the positive plate, they always attracted by the positive plate, which prove that they have the negative charge. The next one is that they are negatively charged. And X-rays, if some heavy metal like copper, Au, Ag are placed in the path of the cathode rays, they generate the X-rays. Okay, discovery of the electron, credit of the discovery of the electron goes to the scientist J.J. Thomson. Scientist J.J. Thomson performed the same experiment with the modified cathode ray tube, and by that one he found that the E/M ratio of the cathode ray is the 1.7588 into 10 to the power 11 coulomb per kg, and this ratio was independent from the identity of the gas. Means if we place any gas, then what happens, this ratio remains the same. Means E/M ratio of the cathode rays not depend upon the any of the gas, any gas ejecting the same particle. He concluded this must be the fundamental particle of any substance because it is present in the every gas, and he called this particle as the electron. Then by the R.A. oil drop formula, we can have the charge of the electron 1 minus 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 coulomb. By the putting this value in the E/M ratio, we have the mass of the electron 9.1 into 10 to the power minus 31 kg. Okay, then we have the discovery of the proton. Discovery of the proton is done by the scientist Goldstein. Scientist Goldstein performed the same cathode ray tube experiment, but this time we have the perforation in the cathode, and he found, and he applied some ZNS coating. He applied some ZNS coating here, and this time he found that some particles are coming from the anode and they are traveling toward the cathode, and by the crossing these perforation in the cathode rays strike on the ZNS plate, and they create the some lightning effect there, phosphorescence there, and these particles are initially known as anode rays or the canal rays. When we find out the E/M ratio by the modified ray tube, it is always 9.58 into 10 to the power 4 coulomb per kg. By the oil molydrops, by the Mulliken's oil drop experiment, we already have the value of the E. Then charge of the electron has to be the same of the charge of the proton. Then by the putting this value of E here, we will have the mass of the proton. Mass of the proton 1.675 into 10 to the power minus 27 kg. Scientist Goldstein also performed this experiment for the many gases, but maximum E/M ratio he found in case of the hydrogen gas. So he said whatever the particle we have in case of the hydrogen gas, that particle is called the proton, because in discovery of the neutron done by the scientist James Chadwick. Scientist Chadwick bombarded the alpha particle on the beryllium foil, and he found that beryllium foil is converted into the carbon with the loss of the 1 unit mass. Okay, and he concluded that this particle must be the neutron. It is the neutral particle which has the mass almost equal to the proton. Mass of the neutron is the 1.675 and multiplied by 10 is power minus 27 kg, and charge of the neutron is the 0 because it is neutral in nature. Then before the discovery of the neutron, scientist J.J. Thomson given the atomic model which is called the plum pudding model or watermelon model. He assumed that the entire spherical atom is made by the positive mass, protons, and electrons are very small in nature. They are embedded in the atom uniformly so that they provide the ultimate neutral nature for the atom. An atom is made by the positive mass which shows by the watermelon model. Red part of the watermelon is the protons actually, and electrons uniformly embedded into it like seeds of the watermelon. Those are present uniformly throughout the watermelon. This model successfully explain the electrical neutrality of the atom as well as the mass distribution. Mass of the proton is more, then proton occupy the more space, and mass of the electron is very less, so electron occupy the less space. Okay, the next question number 1 said that the increasing order of the EYM value, and 4 particle is given to us: neutron, proton, alpha particle and electron. Then you check EYM ratio for the neutron. Neutron charge is neutral, mass is 1 unit, so EYM ratio of the neutron is the 0. Then for the, suppose if we take the proton charge is 1 and mass is also 1 unit, so ratio is the 1. Then we check for the alpha particle. Alpha particle is the ultimate, it is the nucleus of the helium. It has the charge 2 and mass 4, 2He4, so its value is the 0.5. Then we have the electron. Electron charge is 1 and mass of the electron is 1 upon 1836 time. Charge is 1 and mass of the electron is the 1 upon 1836 time of the protons. So EYM ratio, corresponding relative EYM ratio is the 1836. So EYM ratio for the electron is the maximum, then for the proton, then for the alpha particle, then for the neutron. So EYM ratio is minimum for the neutron, then for the alpha particle, then for the proton, and maximum EYM ratio is given by the electron. And this sequence, increasing order: neutron, alpha, proton and electron. Neutron first, then alpha, neutron, then proton, neutron, then proton, then neutron, then alpha, then proton, then electron. So correct answer of this question is the option number 4. Atomic model. Dalton's atomic model was completely theoretical. Okay, and it was obsolete after the development of the Rutherford model. This model was the completely experimental model. It is based on the experimental observation of the alpha particle scattering on the gold foil. The thickness of the gold foil is about the 200 nanometer. An alpha particle bombarded on that gold foil. This gold foil is surrounded by a circular plate, and in the inner surface of the circular plate, ZNS coating is applied. Whenever a charged particle like alpha particle strike on the ZNS coating, we have some lightning, some sparking there. Okay, so when we perform this experiment, what are our main observation? Our main observation are the most of the alpha particle cross the gold foil without any deflection, means they exactly strike at the point here without any deflection. But few particle, they deflected at the angle of 90, less than 90. Okay, but very few particle, they deflected at the angle more than 90. But one particle out of 20,000, one particle out of 20,000 deflected back to its original direction. Okay, it deflected back at the angle of the 180. So based on these observations, scientist Rutherford developed a model based on the observation. According to this model, most of the space of the atom is the empty in nature, from where the electron cross the atom without any deflection. This space is called the extranuclear space. All the positive charge, all the protons of the atoms, they are present at a very small point, and this point is present at the center of the atom, and this center is called the nucleus. Nucleus consists almost all the mass of the atom, but volume of the nucleus is almost negligible. So deflection is due to the presence of positively charged center, that is the nucleus. The particles, those are crossing the gold file near to the nucleus. Nucleus is also positively charged, and alpha particle are the helium of nucleus, so it is also positive charge, and between the positive we always have the repulsion. So due to the repulsion of the nucleus and alpha particle between them, okay, some alpha particle deflected at the angle of the 90 or more than 90, but the particle which is just about to strike on the nucleus, that feel the maximum force of repulsion, and it deflected back exactly at the angle of the 180 degree. Okay, so based on these, scientists said that deflection is due to the positively charged center. Okay, and this center is called the nucleus. Nucleus consists almost 99% mass of the atom. And what about the extranuclear space? Extranuclear space has no mass, but it occupies maximum volume. Okay, electron move around the nucleus in the extranuclear space with very high velocity in some circular path, and these circular paths are called the orbits. Electron held, because electron is, now we know it is the negatively charged and nucleus is positively charged, and between the negative and positive we always have the force of attraction. So electron held by the nucleus through the very strong force of attraction which work in the inner direction. But that circular motion of the electron generate the centrifugal force, and that centrifugal force always work outside. So for a stable system, what the condition we have? The Coulombic force, electrostatic force in the inner direction must be equal to the centrifugal force in the outward direction. Means for a stable system, Newtonian force, that is the centrifugal force, must be equal to the Coulombic force, that is a strong electrostatic force of attraction between the electron and nucleus. Based on this model, he gave the relationship between the size of the atom and size of the nucleus. He said size of the atom is 10 to the power 5 times than the size of the nucleus. Means radius of the atom is 10 to the power 5 times than the radius of the nucleus. If radius of the nucleus is the 1 meter, then you can assume the radius of the atom is the 1000 kilometer. Okay, so what is the ratio of the volume? If ratio of the volume of the nucleus is 1, then ratio volume of the atom become the 10 to the power 15 times. Okay, and this model is again not the perfect. We have some limitation here. Okay, first limitation, it cannot explain the stability of the atom. Look, according to the Maxwell electromagnetic theory, whenever a charged particle undergoes the accelerated motion, it always releases the energy. Electron also a charged particle, and circular motion is also the accelerated motion. So electron also lose its energy continuously. If electron lose the energy continuously, its path cannot be the circular. Because of the loss of the energy, it comes more near to the nucleus, and ultimately it fall in the nucleus that will destroy the matter. Calculation shows that it takes only 10 to the power minus 8 seconds to destroy the matter, but we know that atom is quite stable. So this cannot explain the stability of the atom. Second one, if electron lost the energy continuously, then its spectrum has to be the continuous. But whenever we check the experimental spectrum of the hydrogen like substance, then we don't have the continuous spectrum. We have some lines, those are discontinuous in nature, discrete in nature. And atomic structure is the experimental fact, and this model cannot explain the experimental fact of the hydrogen atom. So this is one of the limitation of the Rutherford model. Rutherford atomic model cannot explain the experimental hydrogen spectrum. Okay, now we have some common terms like the atomic number Z. Atomic number Z always represent the number of the protons present, or for a neutral atom, number of proton is always equal to number of electrons. So atomic number Z represent the number of the proton or number of electron in the neutral atom. Then we have the mass number, capital A. Mass number is the number of the electron plus number of the protons. Whenever we represent the element at this position, element X at this position, we have the atomic number, and here we have the mass number. Now we have the isotopes. Isotopes are the atom of the same element. They have the same atomic number but different atomic mass due to the difference number of the neutron, like 1h1, 1s2, 1s3. All are the atoms of the hydrogen. All are having the molar atomic number 1, but mass is different. Protium 1 mass, deuterium 2 mass, tritium 3 mass. So they have the same atomic number but different mass number, and such kind of the atoms of the same element called the isotopes. Next we have the isobars. Isobars have the same mass number. The number of proton plus number of neutron is the same, but atomic number are the different. Since atomic number are the different, they are atoms of the different element. By chance they have the same mass number. For example, 7 nitrogen 14 and 6 carbon 14. They have the same mass number but different atomic number. So such kind of combination are called the isobars. Now we have the average atomic mass. Average atomic mass is the mass of the 1 mole of that element which obtained by the natural source. And in the natural source, the percentage of different isotopes always remains the constant. Like chlorine exists in the two form, chlorine 35 and chlorine 37. Whenever we withdraw the chlorine atom from any natural source, always the chlorine 35 percentage is the 75 and chlorine 37 percentage is the 25. This is fixed. So whenever we have the 1 mole of the chlorine atom, 75% atom belongs to the chlorine 35 and 25 atom belongs to the chlorine 37. So how we can calculate the atomic mass, that is the mass of the 1 mole. What is that? Mass of the first isotope plus multiplied by mole fraction of the first isotope plus mass of the second isotope multiplied by mole fraction of the second isotope, and so on. Now we have, because look, recent all the study, advanced study of the atomic structure are only based on the study of the atomic spectrum. Spectrum is generated by the result of interaction of the mass and light. About the mass we know all the thing, but now we have to discuss something about the light. What is the nature of the light has? Once we understood what is the light, then we can understood how we can generate the spectrum and what is the spectrum. So to understand the spectrum, it is very necessary to understand the nature of the light. Very older theory given by the scientist Newton. According to the Newton, light is made by the particles. This theory can explain the reflection, but many other property, maximum property, cannot be explained by this theory. Okay, so it is obsolete now. Now we have the wave theory. Wave theory is based on the electromagnetic radiation theory given by the Maxwell. According to this, whenever a charged particle move in the magnetic field or a magnet move in the electrical field, then we have the combination of the two field, magnetic field due to the magnet and electrical field due to the charged particle. When these two fields interact with each other, they form a new kind of field that is called the electromagnetic radiation. Electromagnetic radiation has the component of both. It also has the component of the electrical field and it also has the component of the magnetic field. And these two fields are proportional to each other. They are present at the 90 angle of the each other. Means if this is the electrical field, then this is the magnetic field, then oscillation of the electrical field in this direction and oscillation of the magnetic field in this direction, means they are always perpendicular to the each other, and they are also perpendicular to the line of propagation. Means this is kind of motion perpendicular to each other and they are also perpendicular to the line of propagation. Okay, exactly same kind of radiation we have observed in the sunlight. Sunlight also compose the two component electrical field and magnetic field. Both are perpendicular to the each other and these are also perpendicular to the line of propagation. So we can say that light is also the electromagnetic radiation, because exactly same kind of the radiation we have when we travel the charge in the magnetic field or magnetic field in the magnet in the electrical field. So light is the form of the electromagnetic radiation. It consists two electrical field and magnetic field. Both the field are perpendicular to the each other. They are at the 90 angle and these fields are also perpendicular to the line of propagation. And for the wave, we have very important property like wave number, wavelength, frequency, time period. Okay, many important properties we have: crest, trough, okay, amplitude, okay, many things we have. But mainly it is defined by the frequency and wavelength. Both are inversely proportional to each other and they are related to each other according to the equation C is equal to lambda nu, where lambda is the wavelength of the light, nu is the frequency of the light, and c is the speed of velocity. Speed of velocity is the 3 into 10 is power 8 meter per second. It is constant, and if c is constant, then lambda and frequency is always inversely proportional to the each other. Okay, so look, we need to understand that light has the wave character also, and this wave character of the light explain many properties very successfully, like the black body radiation, not the black body radiation, like interference and diffraction. Okay, this can be explained very successfully with the help of the wave nature of the light, which comes from the sun, is called the solar radiation. Solar radiation extend from the radio wave till the gamma rays. Okay, after the gamma rays we also have the cosmic rays, but source of the cosmic rays is still unknown to us, so we cannot include the cosmic rays in the solar radiation. Solar radiation, when I move from the radio wave toward the gamma rays, frequency increases, frequency of the waves increases, energy increases. But when I move from the gamma rays toward the radio waves, then wavelength increases, frequency decreases, energy decreases. So if we are moving in the range of the increasing frequency, then minimum frequency is extend for the radio wave. Frequency is minimum, then wavelength is the maximum. Then next one we have the microwaves. After the microwave we have the infrared. After the infrared, this green zone represent the visual range. Okay, it is the part of the solar spectrum, okay, which we can observe by our eyes. This is the only part of the entire solar spectrum which can be detected by the human eyes. This part of the solar spectrum is called the visual range. After the visual range, we have the ultraviolet region. After the ultraviolet region, we have the X-rays, then gamma rays. Okay, now you see this visual region extends from the wavelength 400 nanometer to 750 nanometer. The energy of the ultraviolet is more than the violet, so that's why it is called ultra to violet, ultraviolet. And the energy of the infrared radiation is inferior to red, less than the red, so that's why it is called the inferior to red, that is the infrared. In the visual range, we have the range that is called the Vigour. Okay, V stand for the violet, indigo, blue, then green, then yellow, orange, and finally red. Okay, wavelength of the violet is least, then frequency is the maximum, and wavelength of the red is the maximum, then frequency is the minimum. Then we have the spectrum. What is a spectrum? Spectrum is the result of interaction of the mass as well as the energy, or we can say the light. Every object, when sunlight fall on it, it absorbs a particular part of the solar radiation, and rest of the wavelength, that is called the complementary wavelength. Rest of the wavelength, rest of the frequency, rest of the lights are reflected back toward our eyes. And that complementary wavelength, that complementary color will give us the feeling of a typical color. For example, suppose we assume this part of the wood, and suppose this part of the cloth. Particle here and particle here are different in nature, and same kind of light falls on this surface and also at this surface, but here particle interact with the light in a different manner, and here particle with the light interact with the different manner. They absorb the different light and they reflect back the different complementary light. So that complementary light will give us the feeling of the brown color, and these particles, they interact with the light in a different manner. Part of the light, part of the solar spectrum is absorbed, and rest of the light is reflected back toward our eyes. That complementary light, that complementary color will give us the feeling of the blue color. Okay, so always the spectrum is obtained by the result of the interaction of the light as well as the mass. And how we can have the different type of in spectrum? There are some bases. For example, mass spectrum. Mass spectrum is also called the continuous spectrum. Mass spectrum is also called the continuous spectrum. It is the result of large number of particles. Suppose the solar spectrum we have, it is not the discontinuous, it is the continuous spectrum. Infinite number of particles on the sun, they absorb and reflected back the light. Okay, and that give a continuous spectrum, that is called the mass spectrum. So as the name suggests, it is the mass spectrum, it is the spectrum of the large number of the particles. The next one is the atomic spectrum. As the name indicates, it is the spectrum of the few number of the atoms. This spectrum is the discontinuous in nature. It consists the light of some specific wavelength. Like I told you, in the hydrogen spectrum we have some particular light of the discrete wavelength. Okay, so solar spectrum, sun spectrum, or the energy radiated by the heating metal, that is the example of the mass spectrum. Whereas the hydrogen spectrum or spectrum of any other atom or any other molecule is called the atomic spectrum. Then absorption spectrum. Whenever the light fall on the surface, some electron absorb the light in the lower state and they transfer to the higher state by absorbing a particular wavelength. Okay, and they reflected back rest of the wavelength. That rest of the wavelength is called the complementary. Okay, complementary energy or complementary color. When we observe this complementary color, when we observe this complementary light, that give the absorption spectrum. In the absorption spectrum, absorbed light is not present. It is a complementary of all other color which is not absorbed by the atom. Look, it is the complementary of the absorbed light. Electron in the lower energy state move to the higher energy state by absorbing a particular wavelength, and rest of the wavelength is giving the absorption spectrum, emission spectrum. The electron, those are present in the higher state. After some time they will go back to the low energy shell. Whenever they come back to the lower energy shell, they release the extra amount of the energy, and this extra amount of the energy when fall on the analyzer or the spectrometer, this time we are visualizing the emission spectrum. Okay, an emission spectrum and absorption spectrum are complementary of each other. If we add emission spectrum and absorption spectrum, then that give the total spectrum. For the hydrogen like atom, we can say the light which is not present in the absorption spectrum, that has to be present in the emission spectrum, and if we add both, then that we have the total spectrum. Now some questions based on the topic which I have discussed up to this point. Look, identify the group of the isoelectronic species. We have to identify some groups of the isoelectronic species. So you see, carbon monoxide, the electron in the carbon is the 6 and in the oxygen is the 8. So total electron we have the 14. Then Cn minus, electron in the carbon is the 6 and electron in the nitrogen is the 7. Total become the 13, but we have to remove the 1 electron. So total electron become the 6 of the carbon plus 7 of the nitrogen and 1 positive charge. Positive charge after the removal of the 1 electron. So how many electron we have? 12. Then Cn minus, in the Cn minus, 6 electron of the carbon plus 7 electron of the nitrogen plus 1 electron of the negative charge. So how many electron we have? 14. Then NO positive, 7 electron of the nitrogen, 8 electron of the oxygen, minus 1 electron. So 15 minus 1, how much we have? 14. Then C2 minus 2, carbon C2 minus 2. 2 carbon has the 12 electron plus 12 electron extra due to the 2 negative charge. So again number of electron is the 14. Carbon monoxide, if number of electron in the carbon monoxide is the 14, then number of electron in the carbon monoxide has to be the 13. Then oxygen minus 2. Oxygen minus 2, oxygen has the 8 electron plus 2 electron extra, so total electron become the 10. F minus, electron in the fluorine is the 9 and 1 electron extra, so fluorine minus also has the 10 electron. Nitrogen minus 3, nitrogen has the 7 electron plus 3 electron extra, so nitrogen minus 3 also have the electron 10. Na positive, sodium has the 11 electron in the outermost shell. After the removal of the 1 electron, the number of electron remaining is the again 10. So we have to identify the group of the isoelectronic species. Isoelectronic species always have the same number of the atom. Then oxygen minus, fluorine minus, nitrogen minus 3 and Na positive. These are the ions, those contain always 10 electron in the outermost shell. So this is first group of the isoelectronic species. Now in the second group we see carbon monoxide 14, cyanide ion 14, NO positive 14 and carbon minus 2 is also 14. So in the one group we have the carbon monoxide, cyanide, NO positive and C2 minus 2. It is the first group of the isoelectronic species, and in the second group we have the oxide, fluoride, nitride and sodium ion. This is the second group of the isoelectronic species. Now in the next question, mass number of the lithium, beryllium and boron are the 7, 9 and 10 respectively, which has the 2 electron, 3 proton and 4 neutron. This question is very easy because first we have to find out the number of the proton. Number of the proton in the lithium is the 3, beryllium is the 4 and boron is the 5. Okay, and number of proton we cannot exchange, it has to be the same. So our answer 110% should be belongs to the lithium. So lithium initially has 3 proton and 3 electron, but we want the 2 electrons. So if lithium 3 will lose a 1 electron, then what it has the lithium plus 1. So number of electron initially 3, but after the loss of the 1 electron, the number of electron become the 2. How many number of proton? Number of proton is still 3. Okay, and how many neutron? Mass number is the 7, means number of proton is the 3 and number of neutron is the 4. So our correct answer is the option number 3. Now the question number 4, identify the incorrect statement. First statement, cathode rays carry the negative charge. It is always correct. Cathode rays are the electron and electron always carry the negative charge. So this is correct statement. Then frequency of X-rays is more than the ultraviolet. Frequency of X-rays is more than the ultraviolet. It is also correct. X-rays has the more frequency than the ultraviolet. Then unit of the wave number is the per centimeter. This is also correct. Wave number is the how many waves we can accommodate in the 1 unit reference length, and generally it is taken as centimeter. So how many number of waves we have in the 1 centimeter is called the wave number. So it is per centimeter. It is also correct. Then fourth statement, E by M ratio is same for all the anode rays. It is wrong. Anode rays are the cations, and for each gas we have the different type of cation. So for each type of gas mass become the different. If mass become the different, then number of the then mass become the different, then E by M ratio also become the different. E by M ratio is the maximum for the hydrogen. For other all the elements, the anode rays E by M ratio has to be the less than the E by M ratio of the hydrogen. Can be successfully explained on the basis of the wave theory of the light, like interference, diffraction. These can be explained on the basis of the wave theory of the light. But some properties like black body radiation, change in the heat capacity of the solid on the changing temperature, and hydrogen like spectrum and photoelectric effect, these are the properties, those cannot be explained on the basis of the wave character of the light. To explain these concepts, we have to take the another character of the light, that is the particle nature of the light or particle character of the light. These particle character can explain the following properties. First one is the black body radiation. A black body is the perfect absorber and perfect emitter of all the lights falls on it. Okay, and heating pattern, the energy distribution versus light, is shown in the figure. At a particular temperature, we also have some light whose wavelength is very high, energy is very less, and also we have some light whose wavelength is very less and intensity is also very less. If wavelength is very less, then energy is very high. But for every temperature, we have a particular wavelength, which is represented by the lambda max. Lambda max is the wavelength whose intensity is maximum at that particular temperature. This lambda max decide the color of the body. Suppose we have a iron rod and we assume this iron rod as a black body radiation. So at the low temperature, it appear red. If temperature increases, then after some time it may appear blue. When it was red, that it does not mean that it only radiate the red energy. It also radiate the energy of some other wavelength. But the intensity of the red color is maximum. That's why the body seems like us as a red. Suppose when we increase the temperature, now still, okay, the energy of the lower wavelength, energy of the higher wavelength also coming out. But intensity of the blue color this time is maximum. So that body appeared as a blue. And that is represented by the lambda max. Lambda max is the wavelength of the light whose intensity is the maximum. We can say it corresponding to the color of the object. As we are increasing temperature, this lambda max is shifted in the lower wavelength direction. Look, T1 is the less temperature, T2 is the more temperature. At the lower temperature, we have the higher wavelength. Okay, and at the higher temperature we have the lower wavelength. As we are increasing temperature, the lambda max shifted in the lower wavelength direction. As I told you, at the low temperature iron seems like the red is the lower wavelength, higher wavelength, and at the higher temperature it become the blue, that is the lower wavelength. This energy distribution at any particular temperature and the change in the energy distribution on the increasing or decreasing temperature, it cannot be explained on the wave theory. This can be explained on the particle nature of the light or the dual nature, which we study in the next one. Then as the temperature increases, lambda max shifted in the lower wavelength direction, as I have already explained to you. Variation of the heat capacity with the temperature. This you need to remember. Line spectrum of the hydrogen. Line spectrum of the hydrogen atom. This will study in the next video onward. We only do the Bohr's atomic model. In the Bohr's atomic model, we can understand how we have the line spectrum of the hydrogen atom. Next is the photoelectric effect. When the light of the sufficient high energy falls on a surface of the metal, instantly without any time delay, the ejection of the electron occurs. This electron, when strike on the observer or the analyzer, it creates some photo effect there. These electrons are called the photoelectron, and the electric effect due to these electrons is called the photoelectric effect. Okay, ejection of electron is not possible when the energy of the light is very less. The minimum energy required for the ejection of electron is called the threshold energy. Corresponding frequency is called the threshold frequency, and corresponding wavelength is called the threshold wavelength. Ejection of electron is only possible when the energy of the incident light is more than the threshold energy. And always we need to remember, we have the relationship 1 photon to 1 electron. 1 photon can only eject the 1 electron. From the 1 photon, many electrons cannot be ejected, and many photons combinedly cannot eject the 1 electron. 1 photon to 1 electron. Suppose the energy of the incident radiation is more than the threshold energy, then one part of the energy is utilizes for the ejection of the electron. In the metal, we have the free electron. They are free to move inside the metal. If we want to eject these electrons outside, we have to provide the energy. The energy which required to remove the electron from the force of attraction of the kernels is called the threshold energy. Suppose threshold energy is the 10, and we have given a photon of the 15 unit. Then out of 15 unit, 10 unit is involved in the ejection of the electron, that is called the work function. Remaining energy 5 unit that provide the kinetic energy to the photoelectron. So what we have, ejection of electron is only possible when energy of the incident radiation is equal to or more than threshold energy. This is the total energy of the incident photon is equal to threshold energy plus kinetic energy of the electron. Threshold energy is also called the work function, and kinetic energy is also called the stopping potential. If the negative potential is applied on the observer, the electron cannot come outside from the metal, it remains at the surface of the metal. So what is the potential applied on the observer to stop the electron at the surface of metal is called the stopping potential. It is always equal to the kinetic energy. Okay, so what we need to remember, total energy is equal to energy of the threshold energy plus kinetic energy. Okay, now we have the Planck's quantum theory. Scientist Max Planck, they given the quantum theory and they combined both wave and particle nature in the one equation. They said energy can be transferred, energy can be absorbed, or energy can be radiated from the one body to the another body in the form of the discontinuous energy packets, discontinuous energy bundles. One energy packet is differ a lot, it separate from the another energy bundle or packet. These energy packets are called the photons or quanta. Each quanta associated with a particular amount of energy, and energy of the photon is directly proportional to the frequency. Energy of photon is directly proportional to the frequency. To remove the proportionality sign, we have to take the constant E is equal to h nu, and this E can be equal to hc upon lambda. H is the Planck's constant, value is the 6.6236 into 10 to the power minus 34 joule per second. Okay, look, according to this equation, okay, he said that energy can be radiated or absorbed in the form of the discontinuous fashion, discontinuous photons. But when these photons, when move from the one point to the another point, they move in the form of the wave. Okay, so at the same time he said that energy is made by the small energy packets, energy bundles. It is not coming in the continuous manner. So bundles are the particles of the light, and when it travel in the form of the wave, means it also have some wave character. So E is directly equal to frequency. Frequency is related to the wave, means E is equal to h nu. H nu is the photon, h nu is the particle of the light, but again it energy also depend upon the nu. Nu is the frequency. So this equation can have the particle nature of the light as well as the wave character of the light. Energy of the photon can be 1 h nu, 2 h nu, 3 h nu. It has to be the integral proportion, but it cannot be the 0.5, 3.5. These values are not possible, because either we have the one photon or we have the two photon. We cannot say that I have the 3.5 photon. It is not possible. It is a bundle. Either you have to catch one bundle or zero. Now some questions basis on these theory. Look, ratio of the wave number of the two radiation is the 1:2, and ratio of the velocities. Look, this question is very easy, and without even touch the pen we can solve this question. Why? Because we know all the electromagnetic radiation, they travels with the speed of the light. Whatever is the wave number, whatever is the wavelength, whatever is the frequency, but all the electromagnetic radiation, they travels with the speed of the light, and whatever is the wave number, speed of the light has to be the same. So velocity ratio is always 1:1. So answer of this question number 5 is always 1, that is 1:1. Sorry, this is the given in the option number 3. So correct answer of this question is the option number 3. Then which of the following represent the dual nature of the light? Just I have explained to you. E is equal to h nu is the equation which also represent the wave character of the light by the nu. and E is equal to h nu. This h nu is represent the photon, and photon is the particle of the light. So equation E is equal to h nu represent the wave character also and particle character also. The next question number 7, a light of lambda wavelength, it fall on the metal surface and eject the electron with the 1 electron volt kinetic energy. Another light of the h lambda upon 3 on the metal surface eject the electron with the 4 electron volt kinetic energy. What is the work function of the metal in the electron volt? So we have to form the two equation. In the case 1, energy of the photon is the hc upon lambda, threshold energy is the E naught plus kinetic energy 1. In the second case, energy of the photon is the hc upon lambda by 3, that is 3 hc upon lambda is equal to E plus 4. Now value of the hc upon lambda we can write from the equation number 1. What is that? E is equal to E naught plus 1 is equal to E naught plus 4. This become 3 E naught plus 3 is equal to E naught plus 4. What we have? 2 E naught is equal to 1 and E naught become half, that is the 0.5 volt. So correct answer of this question is the 0.5 electron volt. 0.5 electron volt is the work function of the metal. Then a metal, question number 8, a metal eject the electron by the light X but not by the Y. Hence, look, if ejection of the electron occurs by the X, means energy of the X has to be the higher than the Y, frequency of the X has to be the higher than the Y, but wavelength of the Y has to be higher than the X. Now check. In this one, this is not correct because frequency of X is more than Y. Ex is greater than the Ey, it is the correct option. Energy of the X has to be the more than Y, and frequency wavelength of the X has to be the wavelength of the Y. It is also wrong because Y has the less energy, so its wavelength has to be the maximum. Then all cannot be the answer. So correct answer of this question is the option number 2.